Yo, what is going on, good people? Welcome to yet another episode of The Platform. I am your host, Mr. Bonolo Menu, and you know very well that I am a high school teacher. I teach history, and I hope with these videos I can help people to improve their marks and improve their performance. Mostly in the first few videos, I focus on teaching how to answer questions most of the time, the technical stuff, what to do when you come across a question like this. And then later on, hopefully we're gonna be doing other things like getting into the content of history. So this will be very relevant to people who are interested in studying history, who just want to know, and all those who are actually in high school. Now, if you check my comment section, you will see very positive feedback, and I want to send a shout out to all of you guys who have been thanking or giving me showing me your performance. I saw one recent comment. Somebody said they got a 91% on their test or an exam, I assume. And man, that just warmed my heart, man. I'm really appreciative and I'm really happy for you. I hope this can go to other people. This can impact other people. We are winning with this, man. We are trying our best. And I don't want it to make it seem like it's a one-man effort. This takes practice. I try these strategies with my students in class. They give me feedback, and it seems like we have the formula. We have the winning formula. The secret formula is here. So with that being said, I think you should subscribe. You should tell your people to also subscribe. Tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, your classmates. Tell them to subscribe. This is where you find the formula, guys. If you want to pass, if you really, really want to pass history, we are here. We are here. All right, without any further ado, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the platform. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing essay writing. So we will be looking at a few elements. Firstly, we need to ask ourselves what exactly an essay is. For us to be able to do it right, we need to know what it is. So I'm going to tell you what an essay is, or what the purpose of an essay is. I am hopefully going to get into details about the elements you find in the essay, like the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. You need to know what the purposes of those things are, and you need to know what is inside of each, what's inside the intro, the body, and the conclusion. Also how to write it. If you have any other suggestions that you want us to discuss, feel free to write them down in the comment section, ask questions, and in time I'll definitely respond to you. So the first thing we need to ask ourselves when we write essays, we need to know what an essay is. So I think I tried to define an essay and what exactly it is. The question I'm going to pose to us is this: what is the purpose of an essay? What is the purpose of an essay? Now, in my understanding, the purpose of an essay is to construct a persuasive argument and then support it with evidence. The idea is to come up with an argument, a point of view, a belief, and then explain it and then defend it, or support it rather, with evidence. Say, for example, if I tell you that 1 + 1 is 2, I definitely believe that 1 + 1 is 2. Now, in an essay situation, I would have to state that belief of mine, and thereafter explain what I mean when I say that statement, right? And thereafter, I need to support it by making examples or giving some kind of evidence. So, let me see if I can make an example of an of what I mean. So, I believe certainly that 1 + 1 is 2, right? I'm going to explain why I say 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1, if you take one thing and take another thing and then put them together, they're going to be two things. You see, I'm explaining it. It's not, unlike in maths, where you just say 1 + 1 is 2. Here, you explain it with words, right? You take one thing, you take another thing, they make two things. Now, here comes the part where I have to support what I'm saying with evidence. I'm going to say, let's say I take one apple. Let's just say John takes an apple. Then John takes another apple and then brings them together. Those apples are now 2 apples. Evidently, you can see that these apples are 2, and therefore it means 1 plus 1 is 2. That is my essay. I think I'm done. See you on the next one. I'm kidding. So, an essay is not a place where you tell a story. We don't tell a story. It may look like it, but it's not storytelling. Don't ever think that an essay is a story. We are not here for stories. We are not writing stories here. If you are going to take the textbook and put it in my face like that, you're not going to get marks. We are not here to repeat the stuff we know. There is a question that is posed to you. You are supposed to answer that question and explain and then support why you mean what you said. And there you'll have written an essay. If it's an argumentative essay, like a historical essay, then that means you are proving a particular point. That means you are answering a particular question. And therefore, you must be able to say something and explain it and then prove it in the end. Right? So, that means you need to respect the structure. You need to respect how things are said. You need to follow certain rules. I'm going to explain these rules to you now. The first thing is, an essay has an introduction, an essay has a body, and an essay has a conclusion. All of these things have paragraphs inside of them. If you ever find yourself writing one long loaf of an answer, and then you call that an essay, my friend, right? So, how do you do this then? You need to respect each for what it is. An introduction has its own rules, a body has its own rules, and the same thing with the conclusion. So, let's start with the introduction. Now, I always explain that an introduction is basically the beginning part of your essay. It is the first thing that the reader will come across. So that means there you are supposed to grab the reader's attention. You are supposed to make sure that the reader knows what you're going to talk about. Let me make an example. When you buy a magazine, a magazine or a newspaper, on the outside of the magazine or the newspaper, they tell you what is inside of the magazine so that you can buy it if it is relevant to what you want to read. The reader needs to be able to look at your paper and know what you're going to talk about. If they don't, then it's game over for you, lose marks. So basically, if you check the cover of the magazine for once, it tells you that on page 3 you are going to find this, on page 4 you'll find that, this and that and more is happening. It's interesting. You see colors, you see stuff that is inside the paper or the magazine. So you do the same in the introduction. You tell the reader your belief, your viewpoint. You answer the question that is posed to you. That's the first thing I want you to write down. The first thing you need to do, especially in the introduction, is answer the question. Answer the question. Simple as that. If you agree with a particular statement, say that you agree. If you believe that it is true, say that it is true. If you believe in something, say what it is. The next step after that, you are going to explain why you believe this, or you are going to explain your viewpoint. And after that, you will provide evidence or examples to support what you believe. And then lastly, you are going to put in an orientation or a direction of the essay, what the essay will be talking about. You are going to put in a direction, basically tell the reader, this is what I'm going to be talking about in the essay. Now, an introduction has the following 3 points inside of it. Firstly, you need to have a point. The purpose of the point is for you to take a stance or take a position. What do you believe? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is it true? Whatever. Say, for example, your point is 1 plus 1 is 2. That is your point. 1 plus 1 is 2. You firmly believe that 1 plus 1 is 2. The next thing that you are supposed to do in the introduction You are supposed to explain your point. When you explain your point, you basically give more information about what you are saying above. If you said that 1 plus 1 is 2, you are going to explain that if you take one thing and take another thing, they will become two things. You see, it's an explanation. Your point was, I firmly believe that 1 plus 1 is 2. Your explanation was, if you take one thing, take another thing, they become 2. You can even also make use of examples in this position. Say, for example, you say, if John takes one apple and John takes another apple, there will be 2 apples. That is a real life example. The last part will be directions. In the direction, you are going to tell the reader what the essay is about, what you are going to talk about, how you're going to prove to us that 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is the part where you say words like, the following essay will discuss further why I say 1 plus 1 is 2. Or you can say, the following essay will give more evidence to prove that 1 plus 1 is 2. You understand? The introduction is just like a cover of a magazine or the cover of a newspaper, the beginning of something. Now, as a reader, I need to be able to pick up your essay and then see, because it's a long text, I can't read all of it to find out what it is. Then I need to read in the beginning what this is about, because it's a long thing. So when I pick up your introduction, your essay, I'm going to read the intro and see, oh, this person wants to tell me that 1 plus 1 is 2. They are also going to prove it to me by making these following examples. If I'm doing research about 1 plus 1, I will feel that this information is relevant. Let me read it. If it's irrelevant to me, then I won't have to read it. So we are basically teaching you for later purposes when you're in university, when you're supposed to give your argument, and your essay will be used as a source for somebody's research. Okay, let's just repeat what we spoke about. 3 points. You need to have a point or position or a stance. You need to explain your point, your position, or your stance. You explain it further. And you need to have direction. I believe that 1 plus 1 is 2. If you take one apple and another apple, there will be 2. The following essay will discuss further why I believe 1 plus 1 is 2. It will make use of examples like John and his apples and other examples. I'm telling you, man, you're in. Now, the second part of the essay is called the body. Now, in the body, this is where you actually argue and prove your belief or the point you have taken above in your introduction. This is where you present evidence that supports what you believe. You don't, again, tell a story. You don't just speak. Whatever that you are going to mention in the body or in the essay needs to be able to prove what you said in the beginning. So every paragraph in the body has what we call the PEEL method, the PEEL method. This helps us organize our information when we write our body, because you are trying to avoid writing one loaf of an essay. So you differentiate your points by paragraph by paragraph. Every point you want to mention deserves its own paragraph, because that way you will have the opportunity to explain it and then give evidence that support what you are saying. In the PEEL method, the first thing we have is the P, standing for point. The point is the thing you want to discuss. After the point, you explain your point. After explaining your point, you give evidence or examples of your point. And then the last part is called the link. Now, the link is something like a conclusion of that thing you are talking about. And then it also leads us to the next thing. Say, for example, you are writing an essay about how apartheid South Africa was defeated. Now, you are going to discuss a lot of things. Apartheid collapsed because of many reasons. It didn't collapse because people just decided that, nah, you know what, let's end this. There are many things that made it collapse. So you're going to discuss the marches, the boycotts, the individual people who did whatever they could. You're going to discuss how the government responded. All of these things deserve their own paragraph. Now, you don't necessarily have to follow the Peel method exactly as it is. But one thing I emphasize that you do is that you write the P, the point, and then you use one of the E's. Either you explain that point or you provide evidence to that point. And then you move to the link. The link gives direction to the next one. It joins the next paragraph in because you're somehow having a conversation. So when you write your body, you need to be able to separate the information that you are going to discuss. You need to be able to give each of the point its own paragraph. Everything that you are going to say deserves its own paragraph. If you are going to mention one element, discuss it properly, explain it properly, and then move on to the next thing. And then do the same all the way up until you get to the end of your argument. And then you will reach the conclusion. Now, in the conclusion, the purpose of a conclusion is to basically help the reader to remember the main points of your argument, of your essay. Because take it as if you are telling a long speech. You are giving a speech somewhere. You are explaining this whole thing. It can be long. And the person who is listening or reading might forget the main things that you are trying to discuss. So, the purpose of the conclusion is to summarize all of those things, bring them together, and then remind the reader of what you have discussed up there. So, when you write your conclusive paragraph or your conclusion, you use words like, the essay above has fully discussed why I believe 1 + 1 is 2. You explain also that I have used the evidence. I've made examples of the following 1, 2, 3. I also mentioned this. I also mentioned that. You are somehow reminding the reader that these are the most important things that I was trying to say. When you are writing your English paper, especially paper 1, I think, they give you a text, a long paragraph, and then they tell you that summarize this for what, 8 marks, 8 or 10 marks. In the summary, you're supposed to read that thing, and then you take out the main points, right? The conclusion is a summary. That's all it is. You summarize everything that you have said above there, put it in a smaller text, and then you have reminded the reader, and then now it's done. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our episode of writing essays. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I've missed anything. I think I've done a pretty good job so far, but I do need your help. If you see that something is missing, tell me. If you like this, please do like and share this video with your friends and family. It's good to share information. Be that one person who shares information. Help your classmates to pass. Help your other people who are struggling with writing essays to see this video. Yeah, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, that was The Platform. I am your host, Bonolo Menu. Thank you for watching.